Hey, this is Ty with Mindful Moto. I come from a racing background and have ridden and raced many kinds of motorcycles from 250 and 450 MX bikes to Kawasaki Ninjas. My most recent bikes were a 13 CRF 250L and a 14 Honda CB 500X. I was looking for a used bike that was better on road than my CRF 250L and better off-road than my CB 500X. I decided that a used 2014 and a half, it's the later year model, Kawasaki KLR 650 would be a great compromise, and I put over 4,000 miles on this bike, using it for everything from door dashing to moto camping. The Kawasaki KLR 650 is often chosen for its versatility and durability. It's a dual sport motorcycle suitable for both on-road and off-road. Riders appreciate its comfortable ergonomics, long travel suspension, and robust design, making it perfectly suitable for various riding conditions. It also has a relatively affordable price compared to more specialized bikes like the Yamaha T7 Tenere or KTM 790 Adventure. This makes it very appealing to those seeking a budget-friendly, all-around motorcycle. Some of the pros to this bike are it has manageable and smooth power. 40 horsepower is not a lot, but gets the job done on or off-road. This bike will do 90 plus miles per hour on the freeway and has enough power to overtake other vehicles in an emergency. It also has no problem thumping along at a snail's pace off-road. As long as you have some momentum, this bike will go through it. I did go up a tooth on my front sprocket to 16 teeth, and this really helped widen the gear ratio and drop the RPMs at freeway speeds. KLRs will burn oil over 5,000 RPM for extended periods of time, and this upgrade made it so my RPMs dropped 500 RPM at 70 miles per hour to 4,500 and basically eliminated a good amount of engine vibration. The first generation KLR was sold from 1987 to 2007. The Gen 2 KLR like mine began production in 2008 and ended with the 2018 model year. Few changes were made from year to year, but there were a few notable updates made in the late 2014 model. Stiffened suspension was the big one. This is not a high-tech motorcycle, but the previous suspension components were notably soft, even for a guy like me at just over 155 pounds and 6 foot tall. The forks are stated to be 40% stiffer and offered 28% more rebound damping, while the shock was 63% stiffer and had 80% more damping. Changes to the seat were made to make it narrower with a more tapered front. The width of the rear of the seat had been increased and became less tapered. This bike feels very stable, and that is due in part to the raked out front end, making it very stable, as I said, and predictable. Off-road, it has that Cadillac feeling, smooth and plush. As long as you are not pushing the bike too much, it will handle just about anything you can throw at it without feeling too twitchy. This is obviously something that beginner riders will love, and it will allow them to push themselves without the bike biting back. The on-road manners are very good as well, as I felt much more comfortable at highway speeds on this compared to something like the Honda CRF 250L. This really is the type of bike that bridges the gap between smaller dual sports and full-on adventure bikes like a Honda Africa Twin. The large capacity fuel tank allows you to go 200 plus miles without filling up, and I average between 45 and 55 miles per gallon. I believe the fuel tank capacity is around 4.5 gallons. I'll make a correction below if that's something different. The fairings do a remarkable job as well of blocking the wind, and upgrading to a KLR dash changes the angle of the windscreen and made it so I had nearly no wind buffeting. I never rode with a stock setup, so I can't comment. Versatility. This bike does nothing amazing, but does everything really well. If you're a former racer looking for a quick handling, fast revving motor, this bike may not be the one for you. But if you can slow your pace down and ride within the bike's capabilities, it will go anywhere the more expensive bikes will go. Load it down and travel the world, check. Cheap, reliable transportation, check. Simple motor and electronics, check. As far as two-up riding, I haven't done a lot on this bike, and there's, of course, better bikes if you're going to do a lot of two-up riding. The wide, comfortable seat really makes this much better than something like the CRF 250L, which has kind of a more narrow seat, and the stock seat just doesn't have a lot of padding compared to the KLR 650. There are things about this bike that I did not like and ultimately led to me selling it. If you have owned a Honda, you know that the standard quality nuts and bolts are very good. The cheapness of the bolts and fasteners on this bike bothered me. Anytime I needed to take anything apart, I was paranoid of the thread stripping. The foot peg bolts came loose on one side and eventually stripped out. I did get this fixed using a thread repair kit, but this became something about the machine as a whole that made me feel like it was going to rattle itself apart. Shifting. This bike only comes with a 5-speed gearbox, and although they're not known to have issues, it is somewhat of a clunky gearbox. I've heard the Gen 3 2022 and newer KLRs are smoother overall. The weight of this bike, although it does feel pretty heavy, it does also get a bad rep for being as heavy as it is, which is about 432 pounds. If you have just come off of a bike like an Africa Twin or a Yamaha Super Tenere, this bike will feel pretty light. If you're used to a 250 or 300, it might feel heavy. When I first hopped on the KLR and rode it off-road, I was amazed by how agile it is while also having very good road manners. So this is very subjective. The bike does carry a lot of weight up high, so this does hurt its overall off-road performance. The reason why I decided to sell my KLR is I'm looking to get a motorcycle that is more off-road focused. In spite of being good for what it is off-road, I would like a bike that I can push a bit, more similar to a motocross bike. If money was no option, I would love to try out a Yamaha Tenere T7 or Suzuki 800DE, or even the new Honda Transalp. Although those do have a more road-oriented focus than something like the WR250R, that's probably the route I will be going, as it's a small dual sport. It's very nimble. It can do the single track just a little bit better, and it's supposed to be a very fun, high-revving motor. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for watching Mindful Moto. If you agree with me, disagree, go ahead and leave a comment. Open and honest discussion is a beautiful thing. I will see you on the next one.